Hello, friends, enemies, and frenemies. It's me, Rosie. On my channel, I talk about parenting, pregnancy, babies, and how, if you want to make an omelet, you have to break a few sleep associations. If that sounds fun, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. What nobody tells you about newborns. Why sleep guidelines are garbage. Part 1. What's wrong with my baby? Does this sound familiar to anyone? I was a brand new mom coming home from the hospital with my brand new baby. I had read all the books. I knew all the right things to do. I was ready. The first night, I got my little boy all set for bed, dressed him in warm jammies, nursed him, rocked him to sleep, and set him down in his bassinet. Within seconds, he was wailing, shaking his tiny fist at me in anger. So I picked him up and tried again. And again. Same results each time. He would only sleep in my arms. Placing him in his bassinet resulted in blood-curdling crying. Wait a minute. I knew the rules. Babies should sleep alone, on their back, in a crib or bassinet. The baby course was very serious about this safe sleep guideline, abbreviated as ABC, and I had intended to follow it in the most zealous manner. So, what was I doing wrong? Why didn't my baby sleep that way? To find an answer, I went looking online, and oh baby, did I find answers. So I tried them. Do any of these sound familiar? White noise machine, swaddle, blackout curtains, wearing the bassinet sheet to make it smell like me, a pacifier, heating the mattress, holding the baby until they're deeply asleep. Nothing worked. When I set my baby down, he would wake up either instantly or at best in 1 hour, usually more towards the instantly side of things. The only way to get him to sleep longer was to hold him. Now, this was okay for daytime naps, but at night, I have to sleep too, and that required putting the baby in his nice, safe bassinet. I would lay a hot water bottle on the mattress to warm it up, hold the baby until he was as limp as a noodle, and slowly lower him down. The whole operation felt like defusing a BOMB. But no matter how careful I was, or how much white noise was playing in the background, he inevitably began to cry again. After a few weeks of this, I was seriously sleep deprived. Even though my husband and mother-in-law were both there to take shifts, the situation was unsustainable. I was getting worse every night. I started losing chunks of time. I would wake up in my bed with no memory of how I got there or where I put the baby. A few times I even experienced some weird hallucinations. So, this is supposed to be the safe way to do things? If I was experiencing blackouts and hallucinations from drugs and alcohol, the state would take my baby away. But the same dysfunction caused by sleep deprivation, and I'm doing the right thing, the safe thing? I knew it was only a matter of time before I fell asleep nursing and dropped the baby, or worse. Most of all, I wanted to know why nobody warned me about this. None of my newborn classes even mentioned it. It never occurred to me that a baby might just not sleep in the crib. I didn't know what to do. So I went online again. Part 2. The baby sleeposphere. You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. The internet's most despicable grifters and con artists have all gathered to hawk $300 PDFs to desperate, sleep-deprived parents. The cheats, scammers, and frauds of the baby sleeposphere have proclaimed themselves to be experts and created websites so clogged with ads that they're borderline unusable. But consider yourself lucky that you can only see 4 lines of text at a time because the ideas within are very stupid. Seriously, some of the worst advice you will ever hear. Here's an example. First off, stop doing all the things that actually work. Don't nurse your baby to sleep. Don't rock your baby to sleep. Don't let your baby nap in your arms or in a baby carrier. These things are all sleep associations, and they're bad. And if you use them, you're doomed. You'll be dealing with frequent night wakings for the next 3 to 5 years. To break these bad habits, here's what you do instead. When it's time for baby to sleep, you just have to have a relaxing bedtime routine. Read a story, turn on the white noise machine, put your baby down, drowsy but awake, and let them drift off peacefully to sleep. What? They're not sleeping? They're actually crying hysterically? Well, I guess you have to buy my course to find out what you're doing wrong. I wish I had never read a single line of this ridiculous garbage. Implementing these strategies failed spectacularly, which of course it did. Who would make any money by telling me I can keep nursing my baby to sleep? That's easy and free, and I wouldn't need to buy any PDFs. But wait a minute. There must be something out there from a respectable source. There must be someone reputable who's not after my money, who can tell me what to do. Yes, there is, but it wasn't any more useful. The American Association of Pediatrics, or AAP, has the following advice from their book, Caring for Your Baby. Quote, "The first month. When you place your baby on his back in his crib for sleep, or when he awakens, try to avoid letting him cry. Instead, do whatever you can to soothe your baby, such as singing quietly, talking to him quietly, playing soft music, keeping the lights dim, and/or rocking him gently. Pick him up if necessary, placing him back in the crib again 5 to 10 minutes later." Now, you'll notice it doesn't include any information on when I'm supposed to sleep if I'm awake all night playing pick up, put down with an increasingly hysterical baby. Well, I couldn't figure it out either, but I knew I couldn't continue on like this. An incapacitated caregiver is also a danger to the baby. What should I do instead? Part 3. Going rogue. In desperation, I ended up bed sharing with my baby. According to the AAP, this practice is strictly forbidden. But when my baby was beside me on the bed, he would sleep up to 3 hours at a stretch. That might not sound like a lot, but it's decent for a newborn and was a vast improvement on the 0 to 60 minutes I was getting before. I realized my choice was either to co-sleep on purpose or inevitably co-sleep on accident, which is much more dangerous. Just a note, you should not bed share when you are extremely sleep deprived because sleeping deeply means you're not as aware of the baby. I made sure to catch up by sleeping most of the day before I started bed sharing. I followed the Safe Sleep 7, which is a list of rules to share the bed as safely as possible. But I'm not happy about it. I don't want this. I don't want to go down Google rabbit holes like an anti-vaxxer discovering QAnon. I don't want to get my information from the Reddit user CrunchyMama89. I want to follow the official advice. But the official advice was impossible to follow. Have the people at the AAP ever met an actual baby? Why do they pretend that you can stay awake all night playing pick up, put down, and then still function as a caregiver? I think a good analogy for this is abstinence-only sex education. When you tell parents, do ABC and nothing else, you're setting them up to eventually bed share anyway, but unsafely. For example, sleeping with the baby on a sofa or chair, which is much more dangerous than a correctly prepared adult bed. This is anecdotal, but when I posted about bassinet refusal on a mommy group, I got two kinds of replies. The first kind was, "Have you tried a white noise machine? My little one sleeps 5 hours with that." Yes, thank you, Ashley. I have tried a white noise machine. The second kind of advice was just various violations of ABC, like put your baby on this special pillow, or let him sleep in the swing. He'll be fine. Now, I'm not giving anyone a hard time if you did one of these things. After all, this entire video is about how I too tried to do the right thing and failed. But I wish the official guidelines would tell us what the best alternative is. If I'm going to violate ABC, then I at least want to do the second best thing, not something that's much worse, because everything else isn't equally dangerous. But the AAP won't elaborate. They just keep repeating, don't bed share, sometimes with flimsy sounding reasons. I've read a quote from a pediatrician who said not to bed share because it increases the baby's risk of exposure to cigarette smoke. And I'm like, not if I don't smoke, it doesn't? I feel like I'm being treated like an irresponsible idiot. The AAP won't tell me anything about the relative risks because I can't be trusted not to smoke cigarettes and go to bed drunk. Part 4, Public Health. Why don't the official recommendations include information on how to co-sleep safely? When I research this stuff, I feel like a 14-year-old going on Yahoo Answers and posting how women get pregnant. I shouldn't have to do a deep dive into the archives of the journal Breastfeeding Medicine to learn more about bed sharing. I'm trying to be responsible, but I don't know who to trust on this topic. I don't know, maybe you think I am irresponsible, that I should have sucked it up because it's my fault for having a kid or whatever. But unfortunately, despite my best efforts, I live in this big bag of meat known as a human body, and it doesn't work right if it doesn't get enough sleep. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do ABC. I tried, but I couldn't. Look, I'm not saying ABC is impossible to follow. Some babies are easy sleepers. Some parents can deal with the sleep deprivation. Maybe it's all my fault for not being tough enough. But here's the thing. Public health guidelines should be for the public. That means regular people with regular abilities, not perfect parents who don't need sleep or unicorn babies who sleep peacefully in a crib from day one. This is more of a rant video, so I didn't do much research. I made an attempt to find statistics on bed sharing, and I found that in the US, either 15%, 25%, or 61% of families bed share with their baby. As usual, trying to find information on the topic of baby sleep was frustrating and confusing. I couldn't find anything at all about how many babies actually sleep full time following ABC, because the babies who aren't in the parent's bed could still be in a swing or a DockATot or a crib with positioning pillows and so on. I think it's safe to say that a large proportion of babies are not sleeping according to the ABC rule. There are two explanations for this. One is that people just don't know the rules. The other is that people know the rules but are unable to follow them. And I'm leaning towards the second one. This is just my guess, but I think people do know about ABC, but have the same problem I did because a lot of newborns just don't want to sleep alone. Okay, AAP, if your guidelines are so unrealistic that more than half of families are unable to follow them, then your guidelines are trash. Maybe, like with abstinence-only sex education, when you don't educate people about alternatives, it causes more harm than good. I have read advice that you should do night feedings in a chair so you don't accidentally fall asleep with your baby in the bed. But accidentally falling asleep in a chair is much more dangerous. AAP, you are officially on notice. When will you write advice that parents can actually follow? Until then, I guess I'll keep getting my information from rumors I heard in the girls' bathroom. Solidarity to all the parents and caregivers out there. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you could relate to this video, don't forget to like and subscribe.